the fourth day of the 366 days of the month of the year 2024, and thank you for joining us. This is the Camnet TV breakfast show on a Thursday where we speak nothing politics, policy and governance, and I'm your host Nelson Zulu this morning, and I'm with my colleague
Vincent Pierre. Good morning.
Good morning, and good to have you on the breakfast show.
Yeah, I must say Happy New Year because I think it's the first engagement we have this year.
This is the first engagement we have right on set, and Happy New Year to you. Thank you for joining me, and I think I should be ushering you into the new year and give you the smiles that we've been having on set with Miriam Kaimba, because we've been keeping it positive. I can safely confirm.
Yeah, I think I can also confirm because I've been following what you've been discussing.
Well, bring us up to speed with your 4 days in terms of how 2024 has been. I mean, 4 days into the year 2024, and likely to see some sort of something that you're already experiencing as yourself.
I think one thing I can point to is the positivity. The past 3 days I've had Madam Kaimba, I think I've drawn that positivity, but I think we are still somehow in 2023 to speak in a broader way.
Hopefully you also are keeping positive, and remember, this is the Camnet TV breakfast show that comes to you from Monday to Friday, and we ensure that we keep you glued in terms of the information that is happening, as well as some of the issues that you also need to voice out on. And now, right about now, we move directly into our health corner this morning, where we get to have an insight from our doctors, that is Dr. Nakubiana Mufwaya.
Good morning and welcome to the Health Corner here on the Breakfast Show. My name is Dr. Nakubiana Mufwaya. So this week we are talking about a very interesting topic, and that is typhoid fever. Yesterday we talked about the signs and symptoms, and we say that some of the signs and symptoms of typhoid fever is that people would have fever, which is increasing every day, and they might also have constipation. Usually it's constipation first and then the diarrhea. Other times they might just have constipation, and sometimes they might just have the diarrhea. So the other symptoms would also be that they would have weakness of the body. They might also feel fatigued and just having body aches. Some of the other symptoms I left out yesterday were that they would have abdominal pain. So they would feel this pain in the abdomen, and sometimes the abdomen may become distended. So they might feel this fullness or bloating of the abdomen. Other symptoms are that they would have some rash that can develop on the trunk or the stomach or the abdomen. So this rash, we call it rose spots. Usually it's some red dots that would appear on the abdomen, and these would signify that somebody has the typhoid bacteria that have caused these rashes in the skin. So those are some of the symptoms of somebody who has typhoid fever. So now today we'll discuss how is it diagnosed and treated in the hospital. So one of the things that needs to be done in the hospital when you are suspected to have typhoid fever is you need to do cultures. So usually it's blood cultures, stool cultures, urine cultures, even culture of the vomit. So if the patient is vomiting, you can use that vomit to culture and take to the lab so that they can test it and see if the bacteria is going to grow from that vomit. The other thing is the stool cultures that can be done because the bacteria is shed in the stool when the patient goes to pass stool. The other things is blood culture. So blood cultures would also show the bacteria in the blood. So that's one way that typhoid fever can be diagnosed. The other way is to do bone marrow aspiration. So they would have to put a needle into the bone marrow to get an aspirate and culture it. So that is a very sensitive test, and usually it yields positive results. However, it's a very painful test, and so it's not usually done or routinely done in the hospital. The other thing is doing a PCR, which can show if there's DNA of the bacteria in the blood. So those are ways in which typhoid fever can be diagnosed. Usually there are also other non-specific antigen tests that can be done. Those are not very specific, so we don't usually recommend doing them, but tests like Wilder test, sometimes they can be done, sometimes they might not, and sometimes they might yield positive results, sometimes they might yield false positive results, so they are not very sensitive. So the other thing is in the treatment of typhoid fever, we need to know how is typhoid fever treated. So the treatment is through antibiotics. So depending on the area where you are at, there are certain antibiotics that are used to treat this infection. So we don't use any other medications apart from antibiotics because they are the ones that attack the bacteria and kill the bacteria. So there are certain places where certain antibiotics don't work because they have become resistant. So you find that the bacteria has become resistant to that type of antibiotic. So they might not use that specific antibiotic. So the doctors will be able to know what antibiotic to give you based on also the cultures. So if the cultures come out, the culture results are out, and they can be able to show the sensitivity of the bacteria, what drug is sensitive or what drug is resistant, so that they can treat you according to how your body is going to respond to the bacteria. So that is how typhoid fever is treated. So it's also important that typhoid fever, that the patient who has typhoid is given fluid replacement, because of course if they're having diarrhea, they will be depleted of fluid. So they would need to be given fluids to just replace their fluid volume in the body. They would also need to be given good nutrition. So good nutrition is very important because it provides the body the capacity to heal and the capacity to recover from the infection. So the patient would need to be put on a very soft diet that is going to offer them nutrients to be able to fight the infection and also to recover from the infection. So those are things that need to be considered when you are having a patient who has typhoid fever. You need to take care of them very well. Make sure that they wash their hands every time they use the bathroom. Those are things that you need to teach the patients or talk to the patient about. If it's your relative or if it's yourself, make sure you are observing good hygiene so that you don't infect other people as well. So I do hope you have learned something today. Today we're talking about the diagnosis and treatment of typhoid fever. We say that typhoid can be diagnosed through cultures of the blood, the urine, the stool, and also cultures of the vomit if possible. Also, it can be diagnosed through a bone marrow aspiration, where a sample is gotten from the bone marrow and it's cultured. The other way is through PCR and some other antigen tests that can be done to show if you have the typhoid bacteria antigens. So the other thing in the treatment is that we talked about that it's treated through antibiotics, and these antibiotics, they are specific antibiotics of choice that each hospital would recommend for their patients, also based on the culture results and the sensitivity results of the particular patient. Then we also say that patients with typhoid fever need to be given fluids and they need to be given good nutrition. They also need to observe good hygiene so as not to infect other people as well. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me on Facebook at Dr. Nakwenamfire, or if you've missed any other episodes, make sure you watch my YouTube channel at Dr. Nakwenamfire. Do not forget to subscribe as well, and do not forget to follow me on Facebook. I'll see you again next time. Stay blessed and stay healthy.
There you have it. Thank you so much, Dr. Nakobiana, for just trying to run us through in as far as diagnosing as well as treatment of typhoid fever, where she did indicate that, you see, this condition can actually be found in urine, stool, as well as blood once you go to the hospital or to a health facility where now they're trying to diagnose you for such a condition. However, we say thank you so much. If you are watching us this morning, hopefully you got 1 or 2 points that you are also maybe trying to work around, because we know for a fact that issues of typhoid are more pronounced in the rainy season, and we are in that season, which is very important for us to safeguard our health. But right about now, we move directly into our money market and look at how the kwacha is performing against the major convertibles. Well, there you have it on your screen. The euro is buying at 27 kwacha.87 ngwe, selling at 28 kwacha.42 ngwe. The Great British Pound is buying at 32 kwacha.24 ngwe and selling at 32 kwacha.87 ngwe. The South African Rand is buying at 1 kwacha.36 ngwe and selling at 1 kwacha.39 ngwe. The United States dollar is buying at 25 kwacha.51 ngwe and selling at 26 kwacha.02 ngwe. These exchange rates have been updated at exactly 0719, and remember that they vary from one bank to bank, and concerns indeed have been on the side of the dollar, because this is where now you get to have a lot of hurdles, where now you're talking about the cost of living, cost of doing business, and keenly so you've been following issues relating to business, you've been following issues relating to the economy, and maybe you also have some great insights in terms of what is happening to the kwacha. But yet we know that there was assurance that was given by Republican president then when he held his last press conference for the year 2023, that 2024 was going to be a good year in terms of the economic, because the economic outlook was tilting towards the positive. But we're yet to see if those assurances are really going to materialize or show on the lives of people, especially those that are doing business, especially those that are also at the helm of ensuring that the households run. Because, you know, even at household level, you've got certain people that you regard as breadwinners. Yeah. So there are all those aspects. But we're seeing that the dollar is selling at 26 kwacha.02.
I think, wow, I don't even know what to say. Well, because we are increasing day by day, and I don't know what measures really are being put in place, and we don't know when they are going to work. But once, I think last year, I did speak to an economist who said this year's budget is optimistic, and if well implemented, we may see improved economy. We are yet to see that, because the year starts on 1st January, and probably we can't expect much from then. But I think
because
we must have
we're only just 4 days into 366 days of what 2024 has to offer.
Yes.
Yeah, well, we continue to keep the positivity levels very high, fully knowing that these are issues that do affect almost everyone. But indeed, there's government assurance that has been put on the table, and everyone needs to be confident that in one way or the other, at a particular time, things are just going to be in place. All we have to do at the moment is hang in there. And talking about hanging in there, we shift now into our segment where we call the Zooming Headlines. And this is a segment where we get to recall some of the stories that were making headlines in our previous bulletin, that is of yesterday. And we also get to look at stories also that you too may have within your community by coming through and giving us that call, coming through by giving us that text message via our Facebook platform, as well as via direct SMSs, which is very important to you so that we keep interactive. Right about now, let's get to look at a story where a family of a Lusaka-based security guard who was allegedly murdered by unknown people on the 1st of December 2023 while on duty is demanding for justice for the death of their relative. Cousin to the deceased, Gilead Chisanga, wants to know who murdered his relative while working at Manda Hill Mall and the security company to cover the funeral costs. We get to look at that story. We'll be back on the other side. The family of a Lusaka-based security guard who was allegedly murdered by unknown people on 31st December 2023 while in the line of duty at Lusaka's Manda Hill Mall is calling for justice to prevail on the unclear circumstances which led to the death of their relative. The family members who trekked to the company where the late Enoch Chanda, 35, was working to seek financial help for the funeral of their beloved, expressed displeasure that the deceased is believed to have been bashed by unknown people while trying to lock the gate at the mall, but questions why a police document suggests that the 35-year-old was involved in a road traffic accident. But cousin to the deceased, Gilead Chisanga, expressed disappointment by the security company's move to release 3,000 kwacha as funeral grant for the deceased.
N'abashabe mwabo n'abana bali 4 tuilishanyo kuti indalama batupere 3,000 okushitamo kofini nokushitamo ifyakulia pamaliro ero na fimbi ifyashala nayichepa tayiringire kampani yo alebo mbako eifwilo kuta provide wanu abana balefwa iko kuma skulu bamukamfwirwa balefwa iko kulasa kama na abana inga chako bati kampani yasumine amatontonkanyo yani ile palwani ukuti bakamupere kwenchitoya kuti akalebo mbakalelisha mu abana pantu uli omuntu ewalelisha abana ewalesa kamana na family ewalesa kamana bawuji na banyina.
He was at his post at Manda Hill in the car park, so we don't know whether it's the thieves that came. He locked the gate. When they were trying to come out, he locked another one and then they bashed him together with the gate. So now what our concern is now is that the company where he was working for, G4S, hasn't been very cooperative with us. We only received 3,000 kwacha for the funeral as a funeral grant, which we feel is not enough. 3,000 kwacha, if we buy mirimi, we buy the coffin, it won't make there. Now if we have to do the post-mortems, we have to run around also to just make this program to work. Otherwise...
The Private Security Companies Association of Zambia President Francis Mukuka has expressed disappointment in the manner the security company is handling the matter and called on the Zambian government to pay a critical eye on the labor policies of the country before implementation, citing gaps.
What can you do in a 3,000 at a funeral? Because not even a 3,000 that you can hire 2 buses. Because what bus from the funeral house to the cemetery and go come, I think it's about 1,000. So, and it depends with how many people this bus will carry. So we came here just to make sure that the G4, we negotiate actually with the G4 so that they can also add up. Because even the addition money that they have promised, they have added, it's not also enough. Hence, we are telling the Labour Minister that with the time that they were doing the minimum wage, they overlooked other conditions like the funeral grant. So why should we concentrate on the salary only, knowing to say it's the nature that a worker one day can die or something.
Meanwhile, police spokesperson Ray Hamonga confirmed the alleged murder incident. According to security camera footage accessed by this journalist, the deceased was captured running to the gate in an attempt to block a vehicle which had been suspected of conducting illegal activities while at the mall. Nelson Zulu for Camnet News, Lusaka. Quite a sad story there of a security guard who was allegedly murdered while on the line of duty at Mandahill Mall when everybody else was in a celebration mood on the eve of New Year. This sad situation did happen to this security guard.
It's so sad that in the line of duty he had to lose his life, and then the company was working for is dilly-dallying. Rather, they are choosing not. I don't think that's a grant they are giving them. 3,000 kwacha over someone's death. No, they are not being serious.
Well, maybe it could be one of those things that we're still trying to work out something, and then once we do that, we might get back to you.
Funeral, you work out. What do you work out? Someone has died, and you have to delay. No, they have to be serious. Well, I think that's what I can say.
That is one of the stories that was part of the bulletin yesterday. You too can give us your concern in terms of what you think of the country's labor policy, fully knowing that a lot of stakeholders have also raised eyebrows when it comes to issues relating to labor laws being followed in the country. But let's move on and look at another story from your end, Vincent.
Okay, here I have a story from Lusaka's North Mid area, where some residents they are risk contracting cholera due to erratic water supply. The residents spoken to on Wednesday, 3rd January 2024, say they have not seen a drop of water since December 14th, 2023, and that they are surviving through a neighbor who has a borehole. One of the aggrieved residents, Agnes Lubasi, is appealing to the Lusaka Water and Sanitation Company to resolve the problem before they become victims of the cholera outbreak. Let's see a report done by Cherish Swart.
Some parts of North Mid, in particular Kacha Road, Mpaseli and Mwembeshi roads, have bemoaned lack of water supply to their homes since the new water pipes were installed by the Lusaka Water Supply and Sanitation Company. Agnes Lubasi of Kwacha Road, house number 2, North Mid, tells Camnet News that cholera is knocking at her door due to the erratic supply of water in the area. Mrs. Lubasi says water was last available on the 14th of December 2023, and since then they have been surviving on drawing water from neighbors that have water tanks in the area.
Not easy really without water, because there are so many issues, especially with the toilet, the washing, bathing, all those. We have been reporting, they say they are putting some pipes, some new pipes, but up to now. So really it's a hassle. We have been, I don't know, surviving or struggling. We get water from some places, some neighbors, those who have my tanks. And it's not every day. Once in a while, we get water from them. Sometimes we get water from the rains. When the rains come, we put buckets. We are going to see buckets on that. Today is a hot day.
While others spoken to say that they have complained to Lusaka Water Supply and Sanitation Company on countless occasions, but no fruitful response has been given.
You know, the complaints were officially logged in or what, but there hasn't been any follow-ups. Okay. So, you know, water is a very big issue, and with the outbreak of cholera right now, we are scared.
Okay. So what would be your word to the Lusaka Water using this platform?
They should improve the water, the water system. They should really look into it. Look, this is over 50 years after independence. Honestly, we shouldn't be having such problems.
Water crisis since 16th of December 2023. Prior to that, we used to have these short water challenges, and we attempted to apply that we do an alternative source, which is a borehole. Unfortunately, that was rejected, and the reason was that this place is properly connected, and as such we can't have a borehole done. I think it was rejected by the Lusaka City Council, Lusaka Water and Sewerage Company. now we've had this problem, and I'm aware that there has been over 3 complaints done. The authorities guaranteed that they would work on the problem. We've had some people visit and check what is going on. Unfortunately, we've not been informed.
Meanwhile, a check by Camnet TV in Mutendere Township found a similar situation where residents have had no water supply for the past 2 days and were drawing water from a nearby borehole. By broadcast time, a comment from the Lusaka Water Supply and Sanitation proved futile as they were unable to give a comment. As of 3rd January 2024, cholera cases recorded in the last 24 hours stood at 257 cases, 16 deaths, 186 discharges, and 455 in-admissions from 18 districts in the country. Cherish Sibote for Camnet News, Lusaka.
All right, issues of water supply, Mr. Zulu. And we are in the crisis of cholera outbreak. Yesterday we recorded, is it 150 something? 200? Yeah, 250 something and 16 deaths. Yeah,
quite concerning if you ask me, because we've also seen that amidst the water blues that have rocked some part of the country, I think this is a similar story that we also have in North Meat, as well as some other parts such as Mutendere D. Yeah, we've had issues relating to water supply not being adequate enough for some time. And if you ask me, that those that have raised concerns to say it's even difficult now to have access to water. Why? Because even those boreholes that we do rely on, that place reliance on power, don't have water, because power and water is neither here nor there. Yeah, which is actually a danger. But we look forward to how these issues are going to be resolved. We fully know that there's a strategic plan, I would say, or a plan both by the Lusaka Water and Sanitation Company, even as the Ministry of Water and Sanitation, Mr. Mike Imposha, who did mention that they are indeed making strides to ensuring that water issues are looked at. But from the 14th of December 2023,
yeah, without water,
that's a lot of time.
And I think these strides or plans shouldn't wait for something to happen. Why don't we do it before, to prevent rather than to treat? Because these are some issues that you can use to prevent the outbreak of cholera. Water issues. Why do we wait for an outbreak instead of working on them before we have an outbreak?
Maybe also there is some sort of failure, maybe from the residents themselves or those that are affected, in terms of reporting these cases to the relevant authorities. Maybe they delay, and if that happens, how do you get your problem solved? Because remember that Lusaka Water and Sanitation Company is the one that is servicing the entire Lusaka. So you can imagine that they'll only respond to a particular area at a given time. Why? Simply because that maybe manpower is not even maybe sufficient.
But that's a problem now. They should address the issues of manpower so that people get adequate water supply. Because you know water borders on life.
Yeah, but for me, most importantly is that I think there should be a strategy that should be put up to ensure that water issues are looked at, especially when it comes to water leakages. Because I've seen a number of communities that have got water pipes that are leaking, and you find that maybe residents would have reported the incidents to the utility, but nothing is happening. I think it should start from there, because there's a lot of water that is going to waste without being accounted for. It's very important that even as they put in such measures, they also look at the plight of the citizens themselves, because it starts from there. You can imagine you've got a water leaking pipe, and then you've not had water since the 14th of December.
Yeah, imagine. And I think we are in the world of technology. The world now is being run through technology. Why can't we have a monitoring system that will detect where a fault is and be able to send a signal to authorities that need to work on such? Unlike you wait for someone to report, And then the process just of reporting is too long. You report a case, and then they'll give you, is it a complaint number? So you'll be using that complaint number for them to follow up. But again, when you call again the next time, you'll be given another number. So it's just complicated. I think we can take advantage of the technology that's there to address some of these issues.
We've so far played you 2 stories in our Zooming Headlines segment, where we're looking at one story of a security guard who was allegedly murdered while on the line of duty. We're also talking about water blues that have rocked Lusaka's Northmead area, with the residents who are indicating that actually it's been since the 14th of December that they had water, and these are concerns that are also coming in. But you too can give us the situation in your area by simply calling the numbers on your screen. How is the water situation in your area? How is the issue relating to electricity? I know this is one thing also that has been more pronounced, especially that we're in the rainy season. But moving on, let's get to look at another story where some Lusaka residents have expressed mixed feelings over the increment in person-to-person mobile transactions effective 1st January 2024. Minister of Finance and National Planning, Dr. Stumbeko Msokotwane, in the 2024 national budget adjusted upward levies on person-to-person mobile transfers effective 1st January to between 80 ngwe and 1 kwacha 80 ngwe. These are some of the concerns that have been coming up. But are you a testimony to this increment?
Okay, I think I've done some transactions in 2024, but I haven't noticed.
You haven't noticed?
Yeah, I think I wasn't paying attention to how much is being deducted. I'll try today. I want to see how much is being deducted. But I think let's get to hear the concerns first. I'll say more once we get.
Indeed, let's get to get these mixed feelings from Lusaka residents through a report that was filed by one of our staffer, Cherished Sibote.
On September 29th, 2023, during the 2024 National Budget presentation, Minister of Finance and National Planning, Stumbeko Msokotwane, announced the introduction of a levy on the transaction value of person-to-person mobile money transfers between 80 ngwe and 1 kwacha 80 ngwe. He proposed the fee structure of between 1 kwacha to 150 with an 80 ngwe increment, 150 to 300 with a 10 ngwe increment, 300 to 500 with a 20 ngwe increment, and 500 to 1,000 with a 50 ngwe increment, respectively. Mobile Money Transaction Levy Act 2023 was Monday 1st January 2024 activated as announced by Finance and National Planning Minister Stumbeko Msokotwane in his 2024 National Budget presentation. However, the introduction of the Mobile Money Transaction Levy Act of 2023 sparked mixed emotions from members of the public. Some members of the public tell this journalist that the levy for person-to-person transaction is welcome but calls on service providers to improve their network connectivity.
It's a very good move to them. Yes, and the other thing is that for them to proceed on that move, at least they must improve on their terms of services. As you all know, we've got very bad terms of services. Talking of the networks, and let's say the callings, yeah. So we welcome the move, but they should increase on their services.
Others explain that the introduction of the mobile money transaction levy is unnecessary given the current economic situation in the country.
Of mobile money transactions, to my side, I would say that people was as it is now with the geo economy. To my side, I think if it can be the way it is now, it can be okay, because we differ the way we find money. Others are working in government, others in public facilities. So for me, as it is now, it's okay.
Meanwhile, the Mobile Money Business Association President Panfred Hasweka says the decision was rushed by the government. Mr. Hasweka expresses worry that consumers will shun the digital platforms, which may affect the mobile money business, which is dependent on how many transactions agents are able to facilitate in a day.
It's not going to be okay with those that won't be managing in terms of sending money, because 18 way is just too much. It's equivalent to 1 kwacha. So what of those that won't be having money in their accounts?
It's always been that this introduction was rushed. We feel government didn't do a lot of stakeholder engagement, didn't take into consideration a lot of factors. Because you know, consumer behavior is unpredictable. So what is now going to happen is consumers are going to be charged the additional fees. For them it's cumulative. It may seem as if this is a small amount, but it's on top of what consumers are already paying. So at the end of the day, we may have a situation where consumers begin to shun leveraging these digital platforms to, you know, make transactions and erode the gains that we have made in as far as expansion of financial inclusion is concerned. For the business, our worry is that once consumers begin to shun, you know, leveraging these digital platforms, at the end of the day, we are going to see a reduction in the average transactions that agents are able to facilitate, and hence this will lead to reductions in commissions.
Cherish Sibote for Camnet News, Lusaka.
Well, another story there coming through from Cherish Sibote with residents expressing concern on the mobile money levy that was effected on the 1st January 2024, where now residents will be subjected to account for a levy for person-to-person transaction. So if you're sending money to a relative somewhere, you are sending money to your loved ones, just know that with that transaction that you're about to make, there's some sort of deductions that are going to be taken. So if you have got a 200 kwacha in your Airtel Money or mobile money account or any other network, if it's 200 kwacha and you want to send to someone, you can't send that 200 kwacha just like the way it is. You need to get something on top that's going to be deducted for you to send.
I think, well, what can I say? It's wrong timing. I don't mean to be critical, but it's wrong timing because this is a time when people are experiencing economic hardships. And for you to find that 200 kwacha, you have to labor and sweat for days. And then you get that. No. I think the best thing was to, first of all, address the economic challenges, address the cost of living, address the depreciation of the kwacha, and then you can come in to implement such measures. Because this, in my view, will discourage people from the plan of shifting from using hard cash to electronic. And now people now start opting, okay, vachite vaenda kumonzi, I think nzawapasira chabe vakaniperekere kuli amai.
We revert to the old ways of doing things.
Yeah, I think that would be the case for most people.
But others would argue to say, look, it's only about 18 way and 1 kwacha 18 way as the highest.
That's too much. Firstly, I don't know how this will be is being implemented, because there's already that charge that is there
for the withdrawal. Yes.
For the even for sending.
Yes.
There's that charge.
There's an increase for sending.
There's that increase now.
Yes.
It's too much.
Well,
yeah.
But it's in the quest of trying to ensure that the country's tax revenue base locally increases, and we get maybe to address all these challenges that are being faced right now, because they're saying the higher your taxes, the better it becomes when you want to amass your revenues and try to look at the economic views of the country.
Yeah, that's so true, but why should I suffer when mines are on holiday? Those are big taxpayers. Why should I be milked?
But again, someone would say, no, you see, but these are just like person-to-person transfers, and they will motivate the consumer or the customer to always look for a mobile money agent for them to send their monies, because for fear of them being taxed on person-to-person transactions, they would rather go to a mobile money agent.
And worse off, why not sending through an uncle who is going to the village?
Well, we're talking about expanding business, right?
No, I don't think this will expand business. No, I don't think so.
But for me, I feel it might expand business because this person-to-person mobile money levy is only applicable to you as an ordinary customer, to you and me.
As when it's me sending, not an agent.
Yes, when I want to send to a beloved somewhere, right?
Now, what happens when I'm in a place where I can't find a mobile money operator?
My friend, you just have to incur. You just have to incur that levy that will definitely come.
You know, in the end, I'll think, pakamala south ya pape pali wa Kongole. I'll just go when I knock off, and then I go there and pay in cash.
Yeah, but all those are critiques that are coming through in terms of the levy itself being affected. But you see, we cannot talk much about it. It's something that is ineffective, and for now, there's just need to embrace and begin to renew our mind and adapt to what is already there.
I wish I had the power.
You wish you had the powers.
I wish I had the powers. Say no, this one, no, I think remove. But yeah, all in all, I think. In trying to raise revenue for the country, I think it's a good move somehow, but also we should be able to see where these monies are channeled, especially in terms of production, so that we see the economy start to grow.
Well, that's a very critical point, but you see, it's also going to depend on how we, the citizens, are going to take it, because just like we've seen, it has already received mixed feelings from the stakeholders, the residents themselves, who are major stakeholders, and as far as this levy is concerned. So meaning that person-to-person transactions might be one thing that is off to some residents, and to just prefer walk into this mobile money agent and do their transactions from there, because they fear that they might be taxed 1/4 80 ngwe or 1/4 83 ngwe for them to send money to their beloved. So which is something also that will add a lot of value. Why am I saying so? I feel when you do a transaction, right, back then it was just too minimal, but they would cut from there. Maybe it used to go maybe direct to the service provider themselves.
Yes.
But maybe now, I think in the new system, it's about paying to the Zambia Revenue Authority, ZRA, and ensuring that the country's revenue increases. I think that is my understanding. But anyway, it is a two-tier thing. It's got some positives as well as some negatives, but it depends with where you want to dwell much, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get to move on.
Okay, wow. We'll move on now to another community story where the Millennium Project Completion Agency has finished the construction of a sewer network and water supply system in Lusaka's Mtendere compound at a cost of $28 million. Agency Communications Director Dr. John Kunda says so far the organization has managed to connect 6,000 properties to water and 5,000 to the sewer network. One of the beneficiaries, John Banda of Mtendere B, says the installation of the sewer network has improved the sanitation situation in the area. Mr. Kaptula Afias did this story.
More than 6,000 and 5,000 households have been connected to the water and sewer network respectively in Lusaka's Mtendere compound. This follows the completion of the installation of the water and sewer network in the compound by the Millennium Project Completion Agency at a cost of $28 million. Among the beneficiaries of the sewer and water system is Margaret Moyo and John Banda of Mtendere B area. Through the project, Ms. Moyo and Mr. Banda have waterborne toilets installed in their houses and shares the benefits so far.
At least taleka kukumba mapitla at least. At least ezokumba kuma mambili so ezonongeka yati. So but hapa at least sio onongeka yati.
The two beneficiaries have, however, called on authorities to address the erratic water supply in the area and water billing mechanism, which is proving exorbitant for some.
But the challenge is manzi jamne kulibe manzi leo nakole na mimi ili kwa papazi nontawe manzi nanga zato sakuti abo icho chamana paka cha public chigudu chija kuli bantu bambili
and foot na my bills at least Lusaka Water and Sewerage. Kali ngati mwezi ngama sewer timasensa manzi. So mabills yakwera at least vachitako consider mabills kuti angalako reasonable. Kapa fixed yakuti vantu vangasikwanirisa.
From the Millennium Project Completion Agency, Dr. John Kunda is Director Communications.
Tendere, as Millennium Project Completion Agency, we have managed to connect over 6,000 properties to water supply, and we are hitting about 5,000 properties to sewer networks at a cost of about $28 million. Thanks to the government of the Republic of Zambia, these investments are actually proving worthwhile for the people in Mtendere.
Dr. Kunda explains that the sewer and water system will contribute in curtailing waterborne diseases such as cholera, among other benefits.
What we are seeing is that our children as well can spend more time studying and paying attention to school. But most importantly, the public health benefits are huge. You want to prevent the spread of disease in the communities.
For Camnet TV News, Afias Kaptura, Lusaka.
Earlier on, we are talking about the story of cholera outbreak and erratic water supply. And there is this story now bringing out some positive vibes where some residents have been connected to sewer as well as water supply network system. I think this should be commended looking at the time that we are passing through. And the community where this project was implemented is one of the communities that are usually affected by the cholera outbreaks mostly.
Yeah, interesting so to note, and we hope that these measures will really culminate into positives being recorded among the citizens, and then it's about also the citizens getting to appreciate the project by ensuring that they take good care of them, because time and again we've had issues in terms of vandalism. And yesterday I think you saw a story of where as ESCO security officer was actually shot and then eventually after some time died by some suspected vandals who were trying to steal some cables. And then this, you find that almost happens in all the sectors. Where vandals are just trying now to take advantage. So it's up to the citizens themselves to take care of such a project and look at the major benefits that do come with it. Right about now, let's get also look at the two stories, and we get to usher in our guest this morning, which we're going to be privileged to be hosting a FERA MP in Emmanuel Tembo, who's just going to be helping us look at the issues or the outlook for the year 2024 in terms of the country's political environment as well as development concerning FERA constituency in this part of Lusaka on the eastern side. Right about now, the stories that we get to look at are those coming from the economic freedom fighters, EFF leader Kasonde Mwenda, who has bemoaned the lack of updates from the government on the debt restructuring process, which he experienced a hiccup last year. Mr. Mwenda says Zambians need frequent updates on how far the process has gone, as opposed to getting such updates on international media. And we also get to look at a story from Panos Institute Southern Africa, who is proposing the introduction of gender policies to enhance reporting cases of gender exploitation in higher learning institutions. Organization Programs Officer Nyambe Jere says currently victims are having challenges to report sexual abusers as they are not protected. We get to look at those stories, and we'll be back shortly on the other side. We'll also get to have an interview. Stay glued to Camnet TV Breakfast Show on a Thursday.
Towards the end of last year, over 30 small-scale miners were trapped at Sensedi Mine in Chingola district on the Copper Belt. As of Tuesday, December 26, 2023, Copper Belt Minister Elisha Matambo gave an update on the accident, where he disclosed that the operations may take a little bit longer.
The operations team have had serious challenges in terms of the operations. We had heavy rains, I think, the past 1 week, which has made the entire week very difficult, both on site 2 and site 3. I don't want to talk about site 1. I'm sure we concluded that we are trying to acquire the machinery, which I think may take a little bit longer. And the operations there, we said, may take about 2 weeks. 2 months.
But opposition economic freedom fighters EFF leader Kasonde Mwenda has expressed displeasure with this pronouncement, wondering why government could not seek assistance from other nations if it has no capacity to continue with the operations.
On the area issue, they were saying government has actually even retrieved all the machinery that had gone there to dig. They have put it back. So please find out for us why. And I hear they plan to resume in April. I don't know what they'll be looking for in April. Serious exhumation of those bodies. But as economic freedom fighters, we refuse that we go on holiday, that we go partying while those boys there in Chingola continue wasting out in the soil until August ahead. So would want to send you again out of respect that you go ask the government how it has unilaterally, without consulting stakeholders, decommissioned the search of our fallen comrades.
Speaking at a media briefing in Lusaka, Mr. Mwenda also expressed discontent with a lack of update from government on the debt restructuring process, which experienced a hiccup late last year.
It's unfair that as Zambia we should be hearing how our debt restructuring program is going through Bloomberg, through CNN. After the G20 framework upon which President Hakainde Hichilema had been enlisted to help restructure this country, we were expecting the Minister of Finance to have come and explained to the country that the G20 framework upon which we had hinged our hopes for debt restructuring had fallen. This government has not restructured even a coin. And they owe it to the people of Zambia who elected them. They shouldn't tell us about, no, PF did this. Yes, we know.
The opposition leader also spoke to the continuous depreciation of the kwacha. As at 15 hours of Wednesday, January 3rd, 2024, $1 was selling at 26 kwacha 7 ngwe. Vincent Piri for Camnet TV News, Lusaka. In August and October last year, the Anti-Corruption Commission ACC arrested 3 lecturers of a named university for corrupt practices involving sexual gratification. This brought discomfort among gender organizations whose concern is the well-being of girl children as well as the general public. Panos Institute Southern Africa is therefore proposing the introduction of gender policies to enhance reporting cases of gender exploitation in higher learning institutions.
This is something that I think should be condemned to the highest level, and how the higher boards in terms of Ministry of Education and institutions that are in charge of these particular faculties can come in is by introducing gender policies. In introducing these gender policies, it enhances reporting, and it also encourages these female students as well as male students that may be affected to also come out in the open. The gender policies can include provisions that allow for their information to be withheld in terms of students, because then perhaps students are afraid of reporting because then they may find themselves on the wrong side and it may disadvantage their academics.
Meanwhile, non-governmental gender organizations coordinating council NGOCC Executive Director Anya Namera says all learning institutions should have strong whistleblowing policies to guarantee the safety and privacy of victims and whistleblowers.
So I think that one of the initial things they should do is have a very strong whistleblowing policy. And a whistleblowing process which will ensure that when the girls report, they are protected. They should have balances and checks to ensure that no one lecturer can determine a student's result based on their own whims and based on whatever they feel they should give that student. There are 2 things. One is there should be a strong whistleblower policy and very strong sensitization to the girls that, this thing happens, don't allow it to happen to you, and when it happens, this is how you should report. And that reporting must yield results, because if it doesn't yield results, then people stop to use those systems.
Ms. Namera also says there is need to sensitize both students and lecturers on the ills of the vice. Vincent Piri for Camnet TV News, Lusaka.
Those were some of the 2 stories that we were looking at when it comes to the issue of updates on the debt restructuring coming through from the opposition economic freedom fighters leader Kasonde Mwenda, as well as a story on gender policy to enhance reporting of gender or sexual exploitation, especially in higher learning institutions. Just like I did mention that this morning we're privileged to host FERA Member of Parliament in Emmanuel Tembo, who's just going to help us understand some of the development issues in FERA, as well as issues pertaining to the country's political outlook in as far as 2024 is concerned. We did see that 2023 was a hive of activities when it comes to the country's political environment, and a lot of concerns were piling up on the country's democratic space shrinking, which has actually been a debate for some time with those in the wheels of power indicating that there's no democratic space that is shrinking. But this morning, we get to say Happy New Year to the FERA Member of Parliament in Emmanuel Tembo. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much. Thank you, viewers. I'm glad once again to be at Camnet. I'm even surprised that it's been a long time I haven't been around.
Oh, yeah. First thing first, we want to give you an opportunity. We've seen that the UPND administration has actually focused on the issue of the Constituency Development Fund, and we've seen to some extent that there's also an increase in these funds and ensuring that almost all the constituencies get to benefit. How is it in FERA? How have you managed to utilize some of the funds that have been dispersed? For we know for the fact that government is on record that all the funds for the year 2023 have been dispersed.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, first and foremost, like I said, thank you for allowing me to appear on this very important TV station. And just good morning to every viewer. Indeed, in 2021, when the UPND formed government, one of the issues they did announce was that we are going to have, increased CDF. And, obviously, let me just say that it's their mode, or, their approach to development. What has happened is, basically, you remember at independence in 1962, just before independence, there were Zambians that were put in the federal government then, a colonial government, as a transition to self-rule. So Dr. Kaunda, actually, our first president, was actually Minister of Local Government and Decentralization. And I want you to take note of the word decentralization. Yeah. Now, so this shows you that, there has been some thinking and some activities taking place towards decentralizing governance to lower levels. In 2003, then President Dr. Levi Patrick Manawasa did adopt decentralization policy. And subsequently, what has been happening over the years, subsequent government have been implementing slowly a system, because we did not have lower levels with capacity to implement projects at district level. So what happened was, government were actually, and the discussions were there. Now, in 2016, something fundamental also happened. Then President Dr. Edgar Chagwalungu did actually enact a new constitution in which the council chairpersons or the mayors and the mayors became, full-time, because previously, they were just councillors and what, So right now they are full-time and have powers. This was in preparation for a decentralization kind of governance. Now, when the UPND got into office, they said they will go full-fledged or some form of decentralization, and where money will be taken from, at a central government level to lower levels. But there was one problem. They actually used CDF, which is a fund which the MP and his committee would supplement government funding. And this is where the problem has been. Decentralization should have worked to be evolved at the level of district. The Minister of Health would have been doing projects at that level. So right now, there's a bit of a problem, but it's something that we can resolve even as we go on. But they are shocked. So coming to the problem, I really wanted to give a clear, background, so that, even as we discuss this CDF thing under the UPND, people must be clear whether it has been an increment from previously 1.6 million to 30 million now, 2024, or it's the same money which the central government could have otherwise used, to develop, districts and the country at large. So what used to happen when CDF was 1.6, central government was also implementing various projects. You saw massive development in schools under the PF, roads, hospitals. They are huge hospitals. I just went to Katete last week for some court hearing. I passed through Petauke. There's what is known as Karindawaro Hospital. When you see it, you really get shocked. Said, you see, this is in Zambia. So there were a number of those. But for the UPND, they've stopped all those massive developments and brought that, gotten the money, increased it to 30 million, gave the MP and the CDF committee through the wards to undertake them. Now, what is happening is this, and I'm sure this is a countrywide, and there has been a criticism to the government that what you are doing are small projects, 1 by 3 classrooms, 1 teacher's house. Look at how your friends did. There were like 50 police officers. I mean, you see a camp, entire camp, just here in Lusaka. You see there's a new police station, there's a new police house, it's just a Chester. Houses, several of them. Okay, so now CDF cannot do that. Yeah, but coming down to what is happening on the ground, so yes, because the UPN is in the leading chair, we follow the guidelines they've given, and we've been implementing these projects. So far in FERA, we have over 30 for 2022 and 2023. Also, we had some under 2021 before UPND took over. So we have about 35 projects. And these are, what I can say, small time projects like 1 by 3, small hospitals, small bridges, and at least, after some time we sat down and said, no, look, instead of all this money building minor or micro projects, maybe let's start beautiful, because FERA is predominantly rural. We're also thinking of building this district to a city level where we have huge projects. So we have a project to build a modern market, so meaning that we put all the resources from the other 17 wards into 1 ward. Then a modern bus stop, as you see, also attracting investment. Put up, there's one person quite prominent who wants to put up a shopping mall and all these things. Yeah, but basically so far in the most of them, one of the principles I thought would work out well, and being rural, was to focus more on education. So we built a lot of education infrastructure out of those 35 or so projects. We built teachers' houses because there are problems with teachers moving here. There are some areas that are remote, so the children cannot go long distances, to seek education because they are too young, like those from grade 1 to 3. So in some areas we've come up with a strategy where we're putting 1 by 3 for those who are going from grade 1, 2, and 3. When they're in grade 4 and they're a little bit older, they can then attend, the distant school. So, but of course, we put up maternity wings too, 2 health posts, and 2 small markets, and the 1 medium market at the Boma. Then the huge one is under construction. Yeah, so there are all these projects coming up. And of course there's the issue of clubs and loans, clubs, cooperatives, and also monies meant for loans, which is under the empowerment component. As you know, there are about 4 components. There's community projects, which is what I was talking about earlier. Then there's empowerment, which is money given to clubs, and loans to business entities. Then there's also skills and bursary for secondary schools boarding. Then we have a little emergency fund under administration. Yeah, so for clubs, I must say that it's a general problem, because you see, these are grants meant to empower people, but people don't accept them as such. We have this problem in this country since independence. At independence, Kaunda gave people 4 cows, say, okay, 3 females, 1 male, there's a bull there. When they multiply, you can resell, you have a ranch and so on. That project failed. Other empowerment programs came in under the MMD, under the PF. We are giving micro loans and all this. But in the same manner, the current empowerment program, I must confess, because these are public funds. in my view, are not well couched, and the concept was not properly thought through before it was implemented. There is been a problem. We are not achieving the objective, because the objective is to empower people so that after 5 years they can be independent, they can employ others, the businesses will grow. That is not happening. So, yeah. So essentially, but let me, even as I conclude that, say, under skills development, we are seeing some good results in that, people, grade 12s who are waiting to go and do professional courses, they can do carpentry and start doing this and that. Drivers, heavy duty drivers also we've trained. That has also, sort of, given us, some hope. Yeah, exactly. So basically, that's what is happening.
I would like to get where the problem is. You talked of having challenges when it comes to empowerment funds. Where's the problem exactly?
Okay, so basically, like I said, it's a historical problem for Zambia. If you go to courts, you find a lot of people that obtain loans from banks and they're not paying. A lot of mortgages, people are losing houses because once people get a loan, it's like they forget what the objective has been. In like manner, you see this across, and like I said, it's not peculiar to FERA, but it's a problem that is countrywide. And to that effect, those who brought this idea should have sat down and do feasibility study. Who do we give? Because out of the many, there are very few who successfully do that, the policy of government. And policy of government must benefit majority, and instead of actually, a few, as the case is now. So the biggest problem lies in, the culture that we have as a country, in terms of, when you borrow. But also, one of the problems, my colleagues in the UPND structures, politicizing the issue, were actually saying, this is money brought by the president, it's your money. And when people are told that, you see, they don't take the seriousness with it. So they would get 20,000, they are 8, 12, they share the money, it ends there. Because in their view, they've been assured that, no, look, we are from the ruling party and we're telling you this. The idea is to get political capital out of it. But when you politicize development, it becomes a very, very big problem. Nothing works, you lose money as a country, and nothing. And these funds are public funds. These are the taxes, now taxes which are being drawn from mobile money transactions, you see, when the mines and the big boys who are making real billions of dollars are actually not being taxed. Now, First Quantum Mine, 2022, they made a profit of, I can't remember, but 1.46 million. Then out of that profit, that is international, not just in Zambia. But out of that money, about $1.2 billion, the profit was made from the Zambian mine. Now you can see how much our government is taxing the poor to finance this project and leaving the real people who should be taxed. Okay, so I'm just underscoring the point that these are funds from the Zambian coffers, and even as we implement them, or the projects that are developed, they should be those that have sustainable impact on the Zambian people.
Now, let's move to the country's political environment. I know for a fact that you are among those members of parliament that were consistently on the media, that were consistently on various platforms, indicating that the country's democratic space was shrinking. But how is the outlook for the year 2024? We're being told that things are going to be better in the year 2024. How do you perceive or maybe look at the perspective of the year 2024 in as far as politics is concerned in the country?
Absolutely, yeah. So first and foremost, we can start this, discussion based on the promises made by the UPND. Even after the president won, he did assure us that first and foremost, this country will be ruled based on the rule of law, constitutionalism, and of course, fairness. These were important, pronouncements. And I'll tell you, we from the opposition believe that we have an opportunity in which, there will be free speech, freedom of expression, political participation, because as you know, after 1991, you know, Zambians voted for the MMD because they wanted a multi-party democracy where everyone in Bemba, you know, meaning, you know, you can, if something pains you, you should speak out. But right now, anything you say, it lands you in police cells. Right now, there has never been any political rally since the UPND won. Not because people don't desire to have that, but because the UPND has actually, you know, decided that no opposing view should be aired anywhere. We have what is known as a public broadcaster, and I think for public media like Camnet, because it's helping Zambians. And I think also our forefathers who are allowed to privatize even the media, because otherwise we would have had no voice. The ZNBC would not allow me to appear and say something as it is. But if, you know, like characters, there are one or two characters even from within ourselves who praise, they praise singers because they want personal benefits. Those will be paraded. Okay, so talking about shrinking political space, this is a reality. We have a very serious problem in this country. And if the UPND do not understand and appreciate the importance of different views as well as criticism, then we are, you know, obviously they will be the first one to go down. I want to just give examples. First and foremost, the PF wanted to have a rally in last year in Matero. In fact, first they would even allow it. Huh? Then a few days later, they say, oh, no, we've discovered there's a security issue. I'm aware that there was a conglomerate of political parties wanted to have a rally on the Copa. Same, you know, they would, and they would tell you who advise you. But legally speaking, and you know, I was talking about the rule of law earlier, the Public Order Act, which regulates public meetings, does not give any powers. And this is very important for something. There is no power given the police to stop any political rally. Those who want to have political rallies, political processions, all they need is actually to inform the police, to notify them at least 7 days before. The reason there's that 7 days is actually for the police, if they think there's a security issue, to organize themselves and go there. But what will happen is, if people go ahead and want to have a rally, that day there will be more security people than ever before. Further than that, we have seen how now there's been interference in political party activities. I mean, the PF, I must indicate that first and foremost, it's a unitary political party. It's one. We don't have two PFs, we have only one political. But the UPND have also gone into PF, okay, to try and destroy the political. Because see, if you can remember, particularly on the minimum prices, PF strongly criticized government when the prices of minimum was skyrocketing. They even had to devise some funny strategy, you know, to give an impression that the prices of minimum have come down.
But government has distanced itself when it comes to the issue of interfering in the wrangles that are happening in the patriotic front.
Okay, so
how do you substantiate your claim that government is part of the interference that is within your party?
Yeah, so you know, I'm glad I'm at the Christian station, because you know the Bible says, "You shall know them by their fruits." Not what they say. Not everyone who calls me Lord, Lord, you know, shall enter the kingdom. The meaning of that, words spoken and compared to activities of someone, there's more information, or there's more reality. You know, deeds, the activities are more prominent than what you say. For instance, you see, there are people that we don't know in PF, calling themselves PF. We don't know them, but the UPND, they know them. Okay? There are people we don't recognize, but the speaker recognizes them. Or ZNBC, which is controlled by the UPND, know them. The president of Zambia, you know, at some forum, he was recognizing someone we do not know. Okay? So, in short, what I'm saying that these people have been created. They are creatures of the UPND, brought in the PF, to destabilize, you know, the PF. Because right now, as I speak to you, and I'm speaking as a person, a grassroots person. I've been to my constituency. I was just coming back from there. I came from Western Province. I've been to Wapula recently, their by-election. You know, the fire with which PF has is so scary. The UPND are not sleeping. And hence, you know, so we have distanced. Don't distance yourself from your mouth. Where are these police people protecting these characters coming from? Eh? The IG, who's the commander-in-chief, is the president. If you listen to what the IG does, you know, the PF proper, they will never allow them to do anything. But these characters masquerading, we'll just wait for the court cases to conclude, and you see. But the point that I'm saying, everyone can read between the lines. Everyone can see that the UPND is attempting by all means. In fact, I'm saying attempting because they are not succeeding. Okay? The way they fired the registrar of societies, that leaves a lot to be desired. It's a lesson we can draw from there, and to see the levels of interference by the Minister of Home Affairs, by the presidential advisor, political advisor of the president. We know what has been happening, and an opportune time, personally, I'm going to name and shame the people involved in these things. How the monies are moving, how they're doing this. We have full information how the UPND is actually interfering with the PF for fear of being criticized. You see, criticism is good. The only problem is that the UPND don't want to hear any criticism. What they could have done actually is to ensure that they listen to the criticism, then implement those things. Okay? We criticize them over the IMF. Sorry, I'm jumping into the economic. Yes, I know we're talking about political space. Yeah, but we criticize them heavily. And they were so arrogant, they said, no, look, we belong to the IMF. We do this, the country would develop. It's not like you even failed as PF to get a deal with the IMF. We refused certain conditionalities. Our friends have just agreed everything. Even things that hurt Zambians, they've agreed with the IMF to do that. And that's why we have a problem. The fuel is going up, milli-mil. We can't control. We can't, all hell was broken loose, economically speaking. And you wonder whether there's a Minister of Finance, whether there's a president in the country. Perhaps, someone else is running this economy, but definitely not the Minister of Finance, because the Minister of Finance should have been, in fact, at the rate we are going, the Minister of Finance should have resigned. Okay? At least the Minister of Finance should be asked, because you see, the resignation in UPND, actually, you have to force them. Like we saw the resignation of my young brother, Stanley Kakuwa. So, you had to be asked to do that. So, anyway, all in all, we are worried as Zambians, not as PF, that political space is shrinking. There are two, when you say something, you are locked up.
Well, let's get to pick this call. Good morning, welcome to the Camnet TV.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, Camnet. You are speaking to Frank.
Mr. Frank.
Akash. Why these politicians talk about the paying of their colleagues? What you need is that for the better Zambia, we need to work together so that we sort out the situation, like for Mirimeo, like for the water levels at Kaliba. Yes, instead of being there, come on the platform, start politicizing and saying this. No, it's not what we need. You had your time, you failed. Give chance to your friend to look and give advice. Thank you. That's my concern.
Thank you so much, Mr. Frank. Honorable, Mr. Frank is bringing out a concern. You are in power, you failed to rule. It's now your time that you should be providing positive criticism, not just focusing on criticism that is full of hate.
Yeah, so Frank, let me tell you one thing. You see, the problem with Zambians, so when not Zambians, for people like Frank, look, you need to understand the role of opposition political parties. You need to understand how a multi-party democracy operates. You see, I cannot come here, start praising like I've seen other people, wrong things. Frank, at the time that the PF was saying they failed, Milimi was actually, which is more fundamental than any other thing. Milimi was 140 kwacha. Now it's 400. In some cases, 500. Why should we keep quiet? I mean, I will not be doing a favor to this country if I said, look, I bought a vehicle recently. And I'm failing, let me tell you, and I must admit, I budgeted differently. You know, it was important because of the dollar fluctuation. It came 2 months later. At the time I was buying, the dollar was at 21 kwacha. Now it's 25. Do you know how much more I have to pay? Then you expect me, and it's not only me, I know several other importers, several other international traders in Zambia, they've been affected so badly. Now, if you're frank, you have a way of getting a fair share of benefit from this government. Let's not look at that. We should look at these things with a bigger picture. And I'll tell you, speaking things like you had your time, or you had not, that is neither here nor there. For lack
but
of
what are the solutions?
Yeah, so let me tell you now, because now we're talking about solutions. Your government, Frank, these are people, but you know that Frank, your name's Frank Waria, Father Frank Waria, called people like that, Chumbumu Sholorwa. When they are in this direction, you can't turn them to the right, even if they are wrong and they're following the ditch. This is how the European, the biggest problem I have. I've been in politics for many years, almost my entire life. This is the most stubborn and arrogant government. No, no, no. We are in power. You had your chance. No, no, no. That's why I'm calling you your government, because I know that language only comes from the European. There is no such thing as a government. The government is in three parts. There's the executive, legislature, and the judicial. And this is supposed to be independent. Mr. Hakainde has just been given the presidency. I've been given to run a fair. So when we all speak, we must listen to each other. So the issue is not advice is not being given to the president, but the issue is that he's not listening to the advice that is being given. Not even as advisors. In any case, it doesn't even, I can't see an advisor who can manage. You know, because most of them, well, they are my friends, but I don't think they are qualified. So remember earlier on, I said that we advise this government in Parliament, don't go full throttle with the IMF. Don't agree to those conditions. They said, no, 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 you are failures. The same thing you're saying. You failed to agree. As we have agreed. No, no, no. It's about the conditions. We refuse. We can't leave a country run on fuel without subsidies. We need to get to a level where we stop things. We intervene as government so that, you know, the poor people are not affected. So right now, there's more pain. There are more complaints. I don't know which country you are living in, but you see, I'll tell you, I move left, right, and center. There's more pain. People, there are atrocities, economic atrocities. People are being tormented by the economy under the UPND. So that's why we speak up. So the solution is one, we need to have a homegrown solution. The other day there was a talk that, no, look, even on millennium, people are telling, can you subsidize? I said, no, we can't subsidize because the IMF conditions do not allow us. So this is why I'm saying that, look, we have copper. We have arable land. If you look at even feasible food production under the UP, that has been a problem. Countrywide, this has been generally a big, big problem 3 years down the line. When you touch the agricultural sector, you mess it up already. So what I'm saying, can you continue with the system which was functional? It was built over the years from the MMD into the PF. The PF never changed, they only improved it. But the UPND want to change the system to appear as if they are better than others. Because that's what the UPND is all about. So, in addition, so I want to say that there was a functional fertilizer input support program which was workable. Two, there's an issue of, which I touched, which is a taxation of the mines. We don't need to borrow. Now there's sugilite, there's gold, there's everything being discovered. We need to have a strong taxation policy. We don't need to tax you, Frank, and my mother in the village. You know, I send a lot of this money, transaction by virtue of being MP. A lot of money now will be taxed from me. The money which should have gone to the beneficiary. We are leaving the mines. Those are simple things we need to do. That's why we're saying that this government is a pro-rich, unlike the PF which was pro-poor. You know, the road networks, go to the rural areas. Don't just do roads in urban areas or just go out there. Because we unlock the economic activities in far-fetched areas. There's rice there, there's, you know, under the PF we're given a road and the fish industry is flourishing in Luango, at least in the absence of that. So, my simple advice or response to our brother, Mr. Frank, is that the biggest problem is that the government is listening to the Europeans, the Americans, the IMF, who are interested in the benefit of their own countries. If you've been listening to social media, there are people who say that, you see, we cheat African countries through the IMF and the World Bank.
Even as we come to the end of this breakfast show, one of the things that you touched on, the aspect of the road, and I know one of the road that has been a menace is that of Great East Road.
Absolutely.
That is also requiring some sort of attention. As one of the members of parliament that is coming from this end, are there any strides that you are making with your fellow colleagues to look at ensuring that that road is patched up, as also looking at issues of rainfall? I know for a fact that there's erratic water supply, rainfall being recorded in Luango, for instance.
Absolutely.
What is the solution that are coming up to ensure that people in that area are also safeguarded in terms of having food?
Okay, yeah. So first and foremost, with regard to road infrastructure, you see, as PF, we recognize that you cannot develop a country without massive road network around the country. Because the economic activities are happening around the country, mining, fishing, agriculture. But you see, the produce must go to the marketplace where these things are not, the product is not available. So it's only a road that will link you. That is one. So with regard to Great East Road, you remember the PF signed a contract where there would have been a new bridge, $75 million, and JICA came in, provided resources, and the government provided resources. The UPND have cancelled that, the question recently in Parliament over that issue. Secondly, if you look at Chipata to Luango Bridge, that road is very good. Yeah, there was another project to continue from Luango Bridge up to Lusaka, a new road, a resurface road. All that has been actually curtailed. What has happened is that now there's been, piecemeal patching of which is not a permanent solution. So there is some works going on, but you see, it's not sufficient because we need to have a proper roads so that there are a lot of trucks moving up and down, there are a lot of people moving up and down. We need safety of our people, and there are a lot of death recorded as a result of that. Road. Yes. So as regards agriculture, like I said, one of the important sectors is agriculture. Yeah, for places like Luango, generally we don't have good rainfalls, but we have shorter rainfalls, and we need a lot of information. There are attempts that have been made, to sort of educate people and so on. But of course, we also have a problem of human-animal conflict. If you have heard us in the past, we have said that no. Why is this government prioritizing animals against the interests of the people? It's because you see, there are elephants eat, even if you farm, the elephants come and eat. So that problem is prominent. And before you close anyway, also, you remember earlier on I did talk about our government listening more to white people, to foreigners and, foreign entities. And I don't know why, because, voting is done by local people. We, the people of Luango, want a mine so that we can get jobs, so that business people can have somewhere to supply. Because a large-scale mine, like the one we're going to have in Chakwenga, is actually very important to trigger other industries. We are a rural people, and we feel that pain. We don't know why. These foreign entities, some of them running lodges around there, and not paying taxes. Organize themselves, convince the minister, convince them, and they cancel the mining license. So we are at pains as to, in political science they say the raison d'etre, the reason for existence of this government. Because it's listening to people who didn't vote for them. When they want to vote, they come to human beings. When it's about performance, they save animals, they say there are international agreements to save these animals, they listen to the IMF. No, we can't do this because the IMF, which is a British or American thing, has told us to do this. No, that's not the way. Let me just conclude by saying this. The president in Parliament indicated that you people are criticizing us about the IMF. The IMF is ours. We are part of it. And you see, blah, 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 praising this so-called IMF animal. Then I want to challenge the UPND. Have you ever heard that there's a Zambian managing director at the IMF or even the World Bank? Not even any senior position. Okay? Secondly, there's never, not even an attempt. Okay, we could use one of it. We have professors, we have economists. We have Dambisa Moyo, by the way. We have a great economist living, who we have refused to use, but she's being used by this same institution. even a Zambian attempting to be managing director. Why? Why is it always the British, the Americans? It's because that is not our institution. They only come here to get their interest from this country. I thought that I should underscore that problem. And most of the problems that we are facing are as a result of our marriage, our illegal marriage with the IMF.
Thank you so much. We've been having a conversation with Farah, Member of Parliament in Emmanuel Tembo, who's been part of our conversation this morning on the Camnet TV Breakfast Show on a Thursday, where we talk nothing policy, politics and governance. And thank you so much for your contributions that have come through Facebook, the contribution that have come through calls as well as text messages. It has been Nelson Zulu as well as Vincent Piri. Thank you so much for making time with us. Keep it on Camnet. Remember, Camnet TV is not just another channel.